Last night, the judge in Diddy's case actually submitted his decision on whether Diddy's charges can be acquitted or if he can get a new trial, and he said no. So basically what the judge is saying is that Diddy's arguments that he's making in order to ask for these things don't stand. Some of the things that he mentioned in his letter, it was a 16-page letter that he submitted in response.
Cassie Ventura's letter to the judge ahead of Sean Diddy Combs' sentencing might just be the most haunting chapter in this entire saga. For years, whispers swirled about what went on behind the glamorous facade of one of hip-hop's most powerful moguls. For years, people speculated, brushed off rumors, or convinced themselves that fame and fortune excused whatever darkness might lurk beneath the surface. But now, with Diddy facing a sentence that could strip him of his freedom for the better part of a decade, Cassie has chosen to speak directly to the court in a way that leaves no room for doubt. Her words are raw, they're painful, and they're a reminder that behind every headline,
it wasn't the answer he was hoping for. After trying to finesse his way out with a time-served request, the judge didn't just deny it, they made it crystal clear. He's not walking out that easy. Now the clock is ticking, and the sentence is far from over.
Prosecutors are demanding more than a decade in prison. His legal team is begging for leniency. And the probation office has carved out a middle ground. But what Cassie has done is make sure that when the judge decides his fate, it's not just numbers on a page. It's not just about fame, money, or influence. It's about the human cost of what he's accused of doing and the lifelong scars it leaves behind. To understand how we got here, you have to step back and look at the empire Sean Combs built. Because this isn't just the fall of a man, it's the collapse of an empire that once looked untouchable. Sean Combs wasn't just a rapper or a producer, he was a brand. He was the man who discovered the Notorious Big, who turned Bad Boy Records into a cultural machine, who launched fashion lines, liquor brands, television shows, and more. His face was everywhere, from MTV to Billboard, from C-Rock ads to Grammy stages. He threw the most famous parties in the world. He walked the Met Gala carpets with the biggest stars in entertainment. To millions, he was a symbol of the American dream, a man who rose from Harlem to become one of the most powerful figures. If anyone dared to speak out, they were silenced, discredited, or pushed aside. Diddy wasn't just a man, he was a gatekeeper. To challenge him wasn't just risky, it was career suicide. And for years, no one dared. But then came Cassie Ventura. Young, radiant, and ambitious, she stepped into the spotlight in the mid-2000s with her breakout single, Me and You. Practically overnight, she went from a hopeful model and dancer to one of the most talked-about rising stars in music. Her beauty was undeniable, her sound was fresh, and the world seemed ready to embrace her. At the center of it all stood Diddy, her mentor, her label head, the man who promised to guide her career to the top. To the outside world, it looked like a fairy tale. Cassie was living the dream, arm in arm with one of the most powerful men in entertainment, appearing at red carpets, luxury events, and private jets most people could only imagine. Fans saw glitz, glamour, and opportunity. But behind the cameras, Cassie says the truth was far darker. According to her, the relationship was built on control, coercion, and manipulation. What the public saw as glitz and luxury, she describes as a cage. Diddy controlled her career, her image, and as she tells it, her very sense of self. She says he pressured her into disturbing sexual encounters that left her traumatized, orchestrated situations that broke her spirit, and used violence and fear to keep her in line. For years, she stayed silent. And people asked why. Why not leave? Why not expose him sooner? But that question ignores the reality of abuse, especially when the abuser is one of the most powerful men in music. Leaving wasn't just walking away from a boyfriend. It was walking away from your career, your safety, your future. Survivors know the risks, they know the threats, and they know that sometimes silence feels like the only way to survive. The breaking point came years later when Cassie filed a lawsuit in 2023. And in that lawsuit, she laid bare some of the darkest allegations the industry had ever seen tied to a celebrity of Diddy's stature. Suddenly, the whispers were headlines. Suddenly, the man who had always seemed untouchable was being named directly in a court of law. The lawsuit cracked something open. It wasn't just Cassie anymore. Dozens of others began coming forward with allegations, lawsuits piled up. The FBI got involved. By 2024, federal prosecutors had built a case that accused Diddy of everything from racketeering conspiracy to sex trafficking, violations of the Mann Act, and beyond. The trial that followed in 2025 was explosive. The courtroom became a stage for some of the most shocking testimony in recent memory. Witness after witness painted a picture of a man who used his power to exploit, to control, and to destroy. Cassie was at the center. Her testimony was emotional, graphic, and unforgettable. She spoke of freak-offs, marathon sex sessions Diddy forced her into with other people, situations she never wanted but endured out of fear. She described nights that ended in violence, manipulation that left her feeling like a prisoner, and years of psychological scars. The moment that broke through for many was the hotel security footage from 2016, showing Diddy physically assaulting Cassie in a hallway. For years, critics said the stories were exaggerated, rumors, or opportunistic lawsuits. But when that video played in court, the image of Diddy as the untouchable mogul began to collapse. It was undeniable. The jury ultimately acquitted him of the most serious racketeering and sex trafficking charges, but they convicted him on 2 counts of transporting individuals for prostitution under the Mann Act. Those charges may not have carried the same maximum penalties, but they were serious enough to put prison time on the table. Serious enough to end the illusion that Diddy was untouchable. Now, as he awaits sentencing, the question isn't whether his empire has crumbled, it's how much time he'll spend behind bars. Prosecutors have asked for a sentence of more than 11 years. They argue that his crimes were violent, that he showed no remorse, and that leniency would send the wrong message. His defense team, unsurprisingly, is begging for a lighter sentence. They've floated the idea of something closer to 14 months. Meanwhile, the probation office has recommended 5 to 7 years. And this is where Cassie's letter comes in. Because ahead of the sentencing, she wrote directly to Judge Arun Subramanian. And her letter doesn't just revisit the past, it lays bare the present. She tells the judge she still has nightmares, that she still lives in fear of retaliation, that she moved out of New York because she couldn't shake the terror of what might happen if Diddy were released too soon. She describes the lasting trauma, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the emotional scars that therapy alone can't erase. And she makes it clear that, in her eyes, Diddy hasn't changed. His attempts to rebrand himself, to minimize the damage, to present himself as a victim of media exaggeration, she calls them hollow and manipulative. Her words are devastating because they shift the focus from legal technicalities to human cost. Cassie isn't talking about charges or statutes. She's talking about survival. She's telling the judge that releasing him early isn't just a slap in the face to her. It's a risk to her safety and to the safety of anyone who might cross his path in the future. Her parents also submitted letters echoing the same plea. Other witnesses followed suit. Together, they create a chorus of voices all saying the same thing. Accountability matters. Consequences matter. And letting him off easy would be a betrayal, not just to Cassie, but to every survivor who stayed silent because they believed men like Diddy were beyond the reach of justice. This is why her letter matters so much. Because in cases like this, judges don't just weigh evidence. They weigh humanity. They look at the lasting impact on victims. They read the words of people whose lives will never be the same. And Cassie's letter is impossible to ignore. It's not just a victim impact statement. It's a warning. The stakes couldn't be higher. If the judge leans toward the prosecution, Diddy could spend more than a decade behind bars. If the judge sides with the defense, it could be far less. But Cassie's words ensure that whatever the sentence is, the human cost is front and center. Beyond this case, the ripple effects are massive. Because this isn't just about one man, it's about an industry. For years, the entertainment world has protected its powerful men while silencing its victims. Cassie's courage changes that narrative. By speaking out, by testifying, by writing to the judge, she forces the system to confront what it would rather ignore. She proves that survivors' voices can be louder than PR machines and billion-dollar empires. And no matter what sentence comes down, this moment will follow Diddy forever. His legacy as a mogul, a tastemaker, an icon, it's already stained. The question now is how much further the fall will go. So, as the world waits for the judge's decision, Cassie's words hang in the air. They're a reminder that fame can't erase trauma, that money can't silence everyone, and that sometimes the most powerful act of all is telling the truth. But do you think Cassie's letter will push the judge to deliver the harsh sentence prosecutors are demanding? Or will Diddy's team succeed in convincing the court to show leniency? Drop your thoughts down below. And before you go, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this story isn't ending anytime soon.